My name is Rebecca Wilson, and I grew up in a house that looked like it belonged on the cover of Architectural Digest. 4 stories of polished mahogany floors, hand-cut crystal glasses that clinked like secrets, a chandelier imported from Vienna that sparkled but never gave off warmth. To the outside world, the Wilson family was perfection. To me, it was a theater, and I was never cast in the leading role. That role always belonged to Thomas, my older brother. 3 years older, 3 times more praised. When I got an A, Thomas had already won a medal. When I got into Yale, Thomas had already joined the board of something elite. I was the afterthought in every family photo, even when it was my award, even when it was my birthday. In our family, image came first. Feelings came last, if at all. I learned early how to smile on cue, how to sit still and shine quietly, while Thomas basked in every spotlight our parents lit for him. I graduated high school with a 4.0 GPA. Perfect grades. Every class, every semester. I walked across that stage thinking, maybe this time they'll really see me. That night at dinner, my father said, "Thomas just made the debate team. Isn't that something?" No mention of my GPA. No, we're proud of you. Just another reminder my accomplishments were always second place, even when no one else was running. Then came the state writing competition. I poured my soul into that essay. And when I won first prize, the local newspaper wanted to feature me. I told my mom. I thought she'd be proud. Instead, she scheduled a hair appointment for me, right during the interview. "You can't look unpolished," she said, brushing my hair with quick, controlled strokes. "And we'll need a new family photo for the article." That photo, Thomas, was placed in the center. I was off to the side again. Even my victory had to be staged around his presence. From the moment Thomas could walk in a suit, everyone knew who he was meant to become. The next Harold Wilson, the heir, the future CEO of Wilson Properties. Our father taught him how to shake hands by age 10. Our mother rehearsed dinner conversations with him like political speeches. He went to the same prep school as Dad, shadowed executives during school breaks, learned how to command a room before he learned how to drive. Thomas was groomed, polished, positioned. And me, I was told, "Rebecca, you're smart," but not Wilson smart. Too intense, too principled, too academic. In other words, not marketable, not brand-friendly, not part of the Wilson family image they wanted to broadcast to the world. And no matter how hard I tried, I was never enough for a family that only measured value in prestige. It was a Thursday afternoon when my father called. I still remember the way he said it, like he was asking me to pick up dry cleaning. Casual, dismissive. "Rebecca, it's just a signature. We're finalizing a $1.5 million development loan. The banks want a little extra security. Your credit's flawless. We just need you to co-sign. No risk, no stress. No, how are you? No, I'm proud of you. Just business." And still a part of me lit up. Maybe this was it. Maybe finally I was being invited in, trusted, needed. I told Marcus that night. He hesitated. "You're not part of the company, Beck. You don't see the books. What happens if they default?" I waved it off. "It's family," I said. But deep down, I wasn't signing for family. I was signing for the chance that this time I might finally be enough to matter. Marcus was kind, soft-spoken. He taught English at a public high school and volunteered every weekend to help first-generation students apply to college. He didn't own a luxury watch, but he remembered my coffee order. He didn't quote investors. But he listened, truly listened. He made me feel seen, safe, whole. So when I brought him home for Thanksgiving, I thought maybe, just maybe, my family would see what I saw. They didn't. My mother's smile tightened the moment he walked in. "A teacher," she repeated, as if it were a mispronunciation. "A public school teacher," my father clarified. His tone dipped in judgment. When Marcus stepped away to answer a student's call, my mother leaned in and whispered, "Rebecca, you could have your pick of suitable men." "Why? Someone so limited." He's not limited, I said, trying to steady my voice. He's changing lives. At what salary? My father cut in. How will he support your future? That's when I knew. They weren't interested in my happiness, only in how it looked to other people. The rooftop restaurant at the Mandarin Oriental sparkled like a dream. Soft music, perfect lighting, champagne glasses raised under crystal chandeliers, and yet I had never felt more invisible. It was supposed to be a celebration. Thomas and Caroline had just announced they were expecting the first Wilson grandchild. My parents spared no expense. They flew Marcus and me in. They even had our names on place cards. But it was all for show. Thomas has just been made the youngest senior partner in the firm, my father announced proudly, champagne flute raised. Caroline's family has already brought in 3 new clients, my mother added, glowing. Marcus reached for my hand under the table. He could feel it too, the familiar ache of being present but never acknowledged. Then came the question that cracked it all open. Rebecca Caroline said sweetly, "Will you and Marcus be at the family reunion next month? Mother's arranging a photo spread for Boston Magazine, 3 generations of legacy." I blinked. Reunion? A pause. Tight smiles, awkward glances. "Didn't we mention it?" my mother said, stirring her drink. "It's at the Cape House, 4th of July weekend." She was lying. I knew that tone. I had grown up decoding it. No one had told me, because I wasn't meant to be there. The conference room at Caldwell and Burke was silent, the kind of silence worth millions. A floor-to-ceiling glass wall framed the Chicago skyline like art. I was leading the final strategy presentation for the Willis merger. Projected value? Over $1 billion. All eyes were on me. My voice was calm, my slides were sharp. This was the moment I had worked for my entire career. And then my phone buzzed. Normally, I would never check it during a meeting like that. But the name on the screen wasn't a client. It was my father. Old reflex. Years of programming. I glanced. One message. 14 words. "Don't come to the family reunion. We're cutting ties. Thomas agrees." My hand went cold. My heart didn't race. It froze. The numbers on my slides blurred. The skyline outside felt suddenly far away, like I was falling backward through glass. I stared at the screen, motionless. My hand trembled slightly, resting on the polished mahogany table. No one noticed, not yet. But inside, something had broken. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't even blink. I just stared at 14 words that rewrote 34 years of my life. My hands moved on autopilot, slides changing, voice steady, mind elsewhere. Patricia, my boss, was nodding. The senior partners scribbled notes. Clients were smiling. I was dying quietly. And in that silence, I typed a single word. Understood. No drama, no question. No attempt to fight for a seat at a table that had already been cleared. That one word wasn't surrender, it was closure. Because when someone shows you they've stopped seeing you as family, you stop trying to prove that you belong. I made it to the bathroom without stumbling. My heels clicked against the marble floor, steady, professional. The lock clicked shut behind me. I sat down on the closed toilet seat, back pressed against the cold stall wall, and let it all break. Tears fell silent and hot. I didn't sob, I didn't scream, I just crumbled. 34 years of trying to be the good daughter, the accomplished one, the one they'd finally see. Gone. With one message, 14 words, no heart. I allowed myself exactly 3 minutes, not 4, not 5. I cried for the little girl who brought home A+ report cards and got a nod while her brother got applause. For the law graduate whose parents left her ceremony early. For the woman who still believed deep down that if she just worked hard enough, she'd be invited to stay. At minute 4, I stood. wiped my face, fixed my hair, checked my lipstick, and walked out like nothing had happened. Because the message hadn't killed me. It had freed me from the illusion that love could ever be earned in that house. The next morning, I didn't call my parents. I didn't cry. I didn't even talk to Marcus yet. Instead, I called my lawyer. Jennifer Murphy, sharp as glass, cooler than marble, the kind of woman who didn't flinch when rich men raised their voices. I met her in a corner office downtown. The city buzzed outside the windows, but inside it was calm, purposeful. "I want to remove myself as guarantor," I said, my voice steady. Jennifer tapped her pen once. "On the $1.5 million Wilson Properties loan?" "Yes." Pause. "They cut me out of the family. I'm cutting myself out of the liability." She leaned forward slightly, interest sparking in her eyes. "Does your father know?" "Not yet," I said, "but he will." And in that moment, I didn't feel scared. I felt something else entirely. Power. It started just after 9 a.m. Eastern Time, which meant 8 a.m. in Chicago. I was already at my desk reviewing contract details for the Willis merger when the first call came in. Dad, straight to voicemail. 5 minutes later, Mom, ignored. Then Thomas. Then again. Then again. By lunch, my phone looked like it had survived a war. 68 missed calls, 43 text messages, 17 voicemails. Dad, Mom, Thomas, unknown numbers, Wilson Properties accountant, their legal counsel, even the receptionist I hadn't seen since my last Boston visit. I didn't answer a single one. I just kept eating my salad. Because for the first time in my life, a Wilson family emergency wasn't my emergency. At 3:12 p.m., Alicia from reception popped her head into my office. Rebecca?" She sounded careful. Too careful. "There's a man in the lobby. Older. Suit. Loud. He says he's your father." I didn't even look up from my screen. "Tell security he doesn't have an appointment." She blinked. "He's demanding to speak with the managing partner." Still no appointment. I kept typing, still calm. 5 minutes later, Alicia returned. Her voice was lower, almost impressed. "Security had to block him from the elevators," she said. He tried to push past, starting yelling something about betrayal, damage, and how you were ruining everything. I paused, took a sip of water, then smiled just a little. Let him scream. Let him throw tantrums in marble-floored lobbies. It wasn't my crisis anymore. Not my circus, not my guilt. I wasn't his obedient daughter now. I was a woman who had finally chosen peace over performance. The Palmer House lobby gleamed like a stage set. Marble floors, gold trim. Chandeliers that caught the morning light like daggers. Rebecca Wilson walked in, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like she had to shrink to fit the room. Charcoal gray blazer, hair smooth, pearl necklace, the one Marcus gave her on their anniversary, no heels too high, no smile too wide, just quiet steel in her spine and an expression carved in ice. She saw them before they saw her. Her mother checking her reflection in a teaspoon. Her father pacing like a general whose army had started to defect. They hadn't noticed her yet, and she took one more second, just one, to stand tall and breathe in the woman she had become. Not the daughter who begged, not the sister who performed, but the woman who had nothing left to prove. Then she walked forward. They were already seated when I arrived. Corner table, white linen, 2 untouched drinks, 1 empty chair. I didn't sit right away. "Rebecca," my mother began, her voice soft, rehearsed. "We're glad you came. We just want to talk." My father cut her off. "This isn't about feelings. It's about damage control." His tone wasn't angry. It was clinical, surgical. "You've put us in an impossible position," he said, leaning forward. "The bank is demanding immediate collateral. We're being forced to liquidate assets at a loss, all because of you." I didn't flinch, didn't blink. "I removed myself from a loan I should have never been part of," I said. "You cut ties. I'm honoring that." My father's jaw tightened. Then he said it. "You've always been a liability, Rebecca. Your career, your choices, your teacher boyfriend." He didn't say Marcus's name. He didn't have to. "You don't represent what the Wilson brand stands for," he finished, like a CEO dismissing a failed product. For a second, even my mother froze. Then Thomas walked in, late, out of breath. Suit wrinkled, face tight. "Don't say another word," he said, and dropped a folder on the table. And suddenly the balance shifted. Thomas slid the folder across the table. It landed in front of me like a detonator. I opened it slowly, already knowing something was wrong, but still not prepared for how wrong. There it was, my name, my signature, on not one, but 3 loan documents. I only signed one. Rebecca Thomas's voice was low, almost ashamed. "I checked the filing dates. These 2, he tapped them, were notarized months after the one you agreed to." He didn't look at Dad, but he didn't have to. "I think your signature was replicated." Replicated. He couldn't even say forged, but I could. I stared at the pages, at the familiar loops of my name, at the clean criminal precision. And in that moment, everything broke. The silence, the loyalty. The illusion that there were limits to how far my father would go to protect a name over a daughter. I wasn't just unwanted. I was used. And now I was awake. Thomas didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. He simply stood, pulled the chair back, and said, "Dad, you used her." The table went silent. "You used Rebecca's name to secure emergency loans because Wilson Properties was going under, and you didn't want to admit it." He took a breath. "You forged her signature to buy time for a sinking ship, instead of asking your daughter for help like a man with dignity would." No one spoke, not even Mom. I looked at my father, directly. No shaking, no fear. Just the kind of stillness that comes after surviving a battlefield. "I saved you," I said, quietly, "and you killed me. Not my body, but my spirit." He didn't deny it. He didn't say a word. Because when the truth is that ugly sometimes, silence is the loudest confession. She had always been composed. Every pearl necklace, every soft smile, every Christmas card caption, perfect. But now she looked small, shrinking into her chair, as if the truth had knocked the wind out of her. "Rebecca," her voice cracked, "I didn't know." And for the first time in 34 years, I believed her. Because the woman in front of me wasn't the ice queen who told me to wear beige to blend in with the family photo. She wasn't the strategist who placed Thomas in the center and me at the edge. She wasn't her. She was just a woman. One who had spent her life polishing a mirror only to find out she'd never seen her own reflection. "I thought he was protecting us," she whispered. "I thought all of this was for the family. But he used you. And he used me too, didn't he?" I didn't answer, because deep down, she already knew. One by one, they tried. Thomas offered damage control. We'll draft a statement, say it was a miscommunication. Mom whispered about public image. The press doesn't need to know. We can spin it. Even the family's lawyer chimed in. "You've made your point, Rebecca. Let's not ruin the Wilson name." I looked at all of them, the people who once begged me to smile to make others comfortable. The people who stayed silent when I was erased. I adjusted my blazer, reached for my purse, and said, "I'm not your secret keeper." They stared. "I'm not here to restore anyone's reputation. I'm here to reclaim mine." I stood. "I'm no longer the girl who shrinks so others can look bigger. I'm not the woman who trades her truth for someone else's image." I walked out, not with noise, but with peace, because sometimes power isn't loud. It's final. 3 months later, the skyline of Chicago looked no different. But I did. My name appeared engraved in silver on the glass door of the 42nd floor, Rebecca L. Wilson, Senior Counsel, nominated for partnership, pending approval. But here's the part no one saw. I didn't feel heavy anymore. I wasn't dragging the Wilson name like a rusted chain. I was walking in with my own legacy, built from late nights, coffee-stained briefs, and courage they never taught me. I stood in front of the conference room glass walls, reflecting the woman I'd become. And for the first time in my life, I didn't care who was watching, because the world no longer defined me by family. It saw me as what I chose to become. The air was crisp that morning. Lake Michigan shimmered under a sky so blue it looked almost unreal. Marcus didn't plan a spectacle. No flash mobs, no violinists hiding in the bushes, just us. A bench, and a quiet moment. He reached into his coat pocket, and when he opened the box, he didn't even get down on one knee. Instead, he looked me in the eye and said, "You don't have to fight to be loved anymore, Rebecca." And I broke. Not because I was weak, but because for once, someone saw the woman who wasn't always holding a sword. I nodded. Not because it was perfect, but because I was ready. Ready to love without shrinking. To belong without bending, to begin not as a daughter, but as myself. The call came late on a Sunday night. It was Mom. Her voice smaller than I remembered, tired, unfiltered, real. "Rebecca, I didn't know. I should have. I'm so sorry." There were no grand speeches, no long-winded justifications. Just a woman who finally saw the cage she'd lived in and chose to step out. She told me she had filed for divorce. She said she wanted to live a life not dictated by image, but by honesty. 3 days later, Thomas came by my office. He brought coffee, didn't ask for forgiveness, just said, "I'd like to earn my sister back, if that's still possible." And I let him sit down. As for my father, no texts, no calls, no letters, just silence. And strangely, that was the most peaceful sound I'd ever heard, because for the first time in my life, I didn't need his voice to tell me who I was. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. We are taught to chase validation, especially from family. But true strength begins the moment you stop begging for love and start choosing peace. You are not obligated to keep people in your life just because they share your blood. Family is not a biological contract. It's a place where your soul feels safe. Your worth isn't defined by what others see in you. It's shaped by what you're finally willing to see in yourself. If Rebecca's story teaches us anything, it's this: you don't need to be chosen to matter. You matter the moment you choose yourself. If this story touched something deep in you, if you've ever felt like Rebecca, like you had to shrink, fight, or prove yourself just to be loved, subscribe to this channel, because here we tell stories that remind you you are enough, you can walk away, and you are allowed to begin again. Subscribe, share, and never forget, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is understood.